How's it going, you guys? Back here with another quick video. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys some settings that you can modify on your iPhone running iOS 18 to potentially save quite a bit of extra battery life. So as we all know, iOS 18 has been pretty much terrible since day one when it comes to battery life. So, and I can attest to that. My current phone, which is the 16 Pro right here, basically has had awful battery life since I got it back in September. And we are now in the beginning of March, and the battery life is still not great. And I came from a 13 Pro, and I have to say the 13 Pro seemingly had a bit better battery life. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first feature that we're going to want to take a look at here is something called background app refresh. What this is basically a setting that allows apps on your device to refresh themselves periodically in the background, even when the app is not open. So, and this could actually hurt your battery life quite significantly if a particular app or several apps are constantly refreshing themselves throughout the day without you even knowing it. So to get to background app refresh, you want to go to general, scroll down a little bit, and you're going to see background app refresh right here. Click into that. I currently have it set to turn off for every single app because I just want to have the best battery life possible, and apps refreshing on their own in the background doesn't really benefit me pretty much at all. So I just have it turned off entirely, but by default, this is actually turned on, and you can have it set to a couple of settings here. You can either have it refresh only when you're on Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi plus cellular. If you do Wi-Fi only, that could actually help your battery as well, while also keeping your apps refreshed and up to date, because it will only happen when you're, say, at home connected to your Wi-Fi network. And then cellular obviously will do it basically any place you have a connection to cellular. But so when this is on, if I turn it on here, you can see you have a bunch of little switches over here for every single app that you have installed on your phone. And if you want to have a little bit more fine-grained control and you want certain apps to refresh, but you want others to not refresh, you can toggle certain switches on and off depending on how you want to customize this. So moving on to the next setting that can help battery, and that has to do with the App Store. So if we go in and find the App Store settings, we go down here at the bottom to apps, and then locate under A, we have App Store. So select that. And within here, you have three different little toggles that you can modify. Again, I have all three currently turned off. But what these are, so you have app downloads, app updates, and in-app content. And these are under the automatic download section. So when these are turned on, your iPhone is going to automatically download apps that may have been downloaded on a different device to this device. And then the biggest one that takes most of your battery is app updates. So periodically your iPhone will refresh and look for new app updates that may be in the App Store for the various apps you have installed. And it might want to auto install those at any given point. I mean, it might be you might be out and about and it installs it or something like that. So that is something that can eat up battery. And then in-app content isn't a huge one, but say for example you have in-app content that you download again on a different device, and this device might automatically also download that into that particular app. But I have all of these turned off because I don't need them on. I do not want apps automatically downloading to this device, and I don't want apps updating automatically. The next bit of settings here involves haptics. So if we go into the haptic settings, which is down here, sounds and haptics, and if we scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to find two different options for system haptics. So you have an actual toggle for system haptics, which what this is various areas on the system, such as holding down an app icon and things like that, will give you a little bit of a nudge or a vibration on your device when doing that action. It just gives a little bit more liveliness to the device or the iPhone, which I kind of like, and I do actually leave system haptics turned on. Another one that could be potentially battery draining is keyboard haptics. So currently I have that also turned on, knowingly that it may drop my battery life, but I just kind of like the haptics, so I just keep it on and use it. But keyboard haptics, or keyboard feedback rather, may drain your battery life quite a bit, and by turning this little toggle off may save you an additional 3 to 5% on your daily battery usage. So make a judgment call on that if you want to have keyboard haptics on or off, if that's worth it to you or not. For me, I like it, so again, I just leave it on. Another bit of a setting here involves AirDrop. So if we go into General and scroll down until we find AirDrop, within here we have a setting called Bring Devices Together. And what this does is essentially, this is Apple's feature that they call Name Drop. And what happens is when you bring two iPhones together, what it'll do is automatically transfer contact information or a photo or a video or something like that to the person that you're wanting to send that content to. So you bump the phones together and it'll do that. But this can potentially be a significant battery drain if you leave this on all the time and you're constantly doing that. I prefer to leave it off and prefer to just do the normal AirDrop route within the share menu. I just kind of like to do it that way better. But yeah, this can kind of save a very small margin of battery life if you want to save that extra little bit. Another real quick change that you can make to help save battery life, and this only applies to the latest iPhones from the 15 Pro, the iPhone 16e, the iPhone 16, and the iPhone 16 Pro. So Apple Intelligence is basically Apple's AI feature set, and it is turned on by default ever since iOS 18.3. So if we go into the Apple Intelligence and Siri section, you can see this is where you have the toggles for that. And so when Apple Intelligence is turned on, it can have a tendency to drop your battery life by several percent depending on what features of the Apple Intelligence AI that you're using. If it's using on-device intelligence, it'll obviously use quite a bit more. If it uses the cloud-based intelligence, it will use less. But in general, the Apple Intelligence can be pretty draining on the iPhone's battery. And lastly, which is another fairly large contributor to battery drain, is the always-on display, which was first introduced with the iPhone 14 Pro back in 2022. The always-on display can be hugely detrimental to the battery life, depending on how you have it set up. So if we scroll down and we go to display and brightness and we scroll down here and you find the always on display section, again, I have it turned off because I don't need it and or use it or find it useful for me personally. But if I turn it on, you can see we have a various bit of settings here that we can adjust. But then when it's on, you have two other little toggles, so you can show the wallpaper or hide the wallpaper, and you can show or hide notifications. So as it stands now, if you turn on show wallpaper and I lock the device, you can see it basically shows the lock screen as if it were on, which can highly drain your battery life because it's basically showing the device and all the colors on the display all the time, 24 hours a day. Same thing with notifications. So if you have the notifications turned on that little toggle, it's going to show notifications on the lock screen with the always on display mode active. And so that can be enormously draining on the battery. I mean, that can drain it by several percent by the end of the day. And then by turning the always on display off entirely, you can save an additional between 5 to 8%. It's pretty significant how much this uses in terms of power. One way, if you do want to utilize the always on display, one thing you can do is turn off the show wallpaper option and turn off obviously the notifications as well. And what that's going to do, if I lock the device again, is it's going to pretty much make the entire screen black and white. Now, what it will not do is if you have your clock like I have here, customized to have color, it will still be colored. So essentially turning off the wallpaper will just make the entire background of the phone totally black. And because the iPhone has an OLED display, all of those pixels are fully turned off and not using any power. So that could potentially help your battery if you're someone that wants to utilize the always on display. Again, however, for me, I personally just leave it off because again, I don't utilize it enough and don't find a need for it for how I use my phone. And I can also find the always on display a little bit distracting because the fact that the phone looks like it's always on when it's just sitting on a table, I have a tendency to always glance over at it, and I always think that a notification has come through and it has lit up the screen. So I personally don't want it on because it's just having it off is less distracting for me personally. That is some of the top features that I would recommend modifying to help you save a few extra percent in your daily battery life on your iPhone running iOS 18. And this goes for basically any iPhone that runs iOS 18, whether it be older iPhones, way back to the iPhone XS, or the newest iPhone 16 series. So this applies to all devices running iOS 18. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Hit that like button, is greatly appreciated. Hit the subscribe button as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.